Hello and welcome to Kickoff Commentary and day one of our 32 teams in 32 days series leading up to the start of the NFL season. Our first team today will be one of the Dallas Cowboys' division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles. Last season, the Eagles finished the season 9-7, went into the playoffs led by quarterback Nick Foles after an injury to Carson Wentz, defeated the Chicago Bears in the wild card 16-15 in the double doink game, and then lost 14-20 to the New Orleans Saints in the divisional round. Philadelphia had 5 Pro Bowlers last year: Zach Ertz, Brandon Brooks, Fletcher Cox, Malcolm Jenkins, and Lane Johnson. They will be returning all 5 of them to their roster this season, as well as quarterback Carson Wentz back from an injury, who they just signed to a massive 5-year extension. The team's biggest losses in free agency, I feel, are linebacker Jordan Hicks to the Arizona Cardinals, wide receiver Golden Tate to the New York Giants, and of course, quarterback Nick Foles to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, while Foles was the backup, personally, it seemed to me like the Eagles tended to play better when Foles was in versus Wentz. I don't know if it was play calling, I don't know if Foles was better in the huddle, so to speak, or if there was something that he did better than Wentz that you can't really see from the surface. But this is clearly Wentz's team now with Foles gone, so it will be up to him to see if he can make the Eagles any better. But, as they always do, the Eagles did make some key additions. They were able to sign Malik Jackson as a defensive tackle in free agency. They brought back Deshaun Jackson from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and also traded for Chicago Bears running back Jordan Howard. Those 3 are very talented players and should make an already talented roster even better. If it isn't the Dallas Cowboys, I do truly believe that the Eagles probably have the best roster in the NFL. They are a very talented team, and the GM, Howie Roseman, has done a great job to keep the Eagles' talented roster together as well as he can, and it shows every year because they're always a very, very talented group. With that out of the way, let us get into the predicting of the team's record. In week number 1, the Eagles will be playing at home against the Washington Redskins, and I predict this will be a win. The Redskins, I don't feel like, are a very good team this season. I don't have high hopes for their projections, and I do think that the Eagles will get a win in week 1. In week number 2, they travel to Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. The Falcons are a team that is similar to Philadelphia, I feel like, with a strong roster, but ever since the loss in the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, haven't really seemed to be able to get it all there again. However, I do think that they will be able to make at least some strides this season, and I do predict that Philadelphia will lose this game against Atlanta in the Dome and move their record to 1-1. After this, though, I predict a bounce back against the Detroit Lions, where they play at home, and they will be able to defeat them and get to 2-1 against Detroit. The Lions are getting better, certainly, but I think the Eagles are just the better team. After this, in week 4, they travel to Green Bay to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and once again, I think I have to predict a loss for the Eagles here. Aaron Rodgers is as great as everybody says he is. They have a new head coach who he seems to be at least kind of in tune with. The roster is very talented. Devontae Adams is a superstar. The defense got better with the addition of Adrian Amos. I don't think it's impossible to think that Green Bay is better this year, and I think that especially traveling to Lambeau Field this early in the season isn't going to be good for Philadelphia, and that'll move them to 2-2. I do, however, have them picking up 2 wins in a row in Week 5 and Week 6 against the New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings. The Jets are a team with a lot of volatile talent on it. C.J. Mosley, Le'Veon Bell, they're a much better team, but I just don't think that they're quite there yet. With head coach Adam Gase, that's a win for them. As far as the Vikings, Kirk Cousins is just a guy I'm not entirely sold on. He didn't impress me just a ton when he was in the NFC East himself here. I think the Eagles are going to get their first road win in that game. After Minnesota, the Eagles travel to Dallas in Week 7, and I'm going to predict that as a win for the Cowboys. This is probably some bias showing, but I think Dallas is the better team. I think they could be going pretty far this season, and I do think that the Cowboys are going to be able to beat Philadelphia there to move their record down to 4-3. After that, though, I have the Eagles defeating the Buffalo Bills up at New Era Field. The Bills are certainly on the rise. I think that Josh Allen is going to be a pretty good quarterback. I like the Bills' draft pick of Ed Oliver. Their linebacker, Tremaine Edmonds, is great, but the Eagles are just the better football team, and I see them moving to 5-3 after that. I have the Bears going into Philadelphia, getting their revenge, and beating them in that game. It'll move Philadelphia down to 5-4 heading into their bye week. After their bye week, the Eagles will play a home game against New England, and I predict that will be a loss for Philadelphia, moving them to 5-5. They could surprise me here, but the Patriots are still the Patriots as far as projections until I actively see the decline, so I have to go with New England here on that one. Up next, they play against the Seattle Seahawks at home, and again, I predict this being a loss here. The Seahawks are always a dangerous team. Russell Wilson is very, very good. Coming off a loss to the Patriots, it could be a rough place. It'll move them down to 5-6. Do not fret, Eagles fans who are watching my video, though. I predict that they will beat Miami, New York, and Washington to get 3 in a row in Week 13, 14, and 15, and move their record back out to 8-6. Philadelphia is just better than these 3 teams. Miami is going to be in a lot of trouble, I think, this season as far as winning very many games at all. The Giants are in the exact same spot. They are not a team that I think is going to do well. And Washington, like I already said, I don't think they're as good as Philadelphia. After that, Week 16, home game against the Dallas Cowboys. And again, I'm sorry, I got to go with the Cowboys. Again, there could be some bias here. I am willing to acknowledge that, but I think Dallas is on a mission this season, and I don't think Philadelphia is going to be able to stop them in Week 16, moving them down to 8-7. After that, though, they will travel to New York, and they will beat the Giants. I don't think the Giants are going to win very many games at all this season, and so that's going to be one that the Eagles pick up and move their final record to 9-7 for the season. I predict the Eagles will once again win 9 games this season, with Wentz at the helm hopefully the entire year. You never want to wish injuries on a player, and I think that's where Philadelphia is. They're a very good team. I just think that a team in their division is ready, like the Eagles were ready 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. I think Dallas is there right now personally. Obviously, time will tell. Is that a playoffs 9-7, however? That is something you will have to wait and see at the end of all this when we see what every team's record is. This has been day 1 of 32 teams in 32 days. Do you think I'm crazy? Are the Eagles much better, much worse than I am? Please let me know down in the comment section. I want to see your guys' feedback on how you think the teams are going to do this year. This has been Kickoff Commentary, and we'll see you tomorrow with day 2.